Hey everyone, this is your OG, Original Gamer, and this is another Godforge video. Today we're going to be looking at the 5 classes of champions in Godforge and showing you how a team of each would be best speed tuned. You are not going to want to miss any of this video. Without further ado, let's optimize. Alright, so we're going to start out on our favorite website for Godforge, and that is ragewoodgaming.com. So we're going to talk real quickly about the different classes that we know in the game. That includes Slayer, Brawler, Invoker, Disruptor, and Defender. These 5. So let's say, for the sake of argument, we're building a team with one of each, okay? Who would go first? Who should be the fastest? What mechanisms should we look for in the kits? What would be a real, dual multiplier or a damage increaser, or what would make the team run better? We are going to do an early and speculative team build and speed tune for you today. Let's look at what we know about each of these classes, okay? So we're going to start out at Anubis, and Anubis is a brawler class. You see this symbol here. It is a brawler class. Now, we have not seen the definition of this class yet, but we're speculating that it is an HP-based damage dealer. It's a tanky team member. One, because the brawler gear that we just saw gives us a 15% HP boost for each 2-piece set, and also because most of the brawler champs are well above average in HP, just when you look at them against all the other champs. So we believe that this is an HP-based damage dealer. Okay, the highest HP champion or brawler champion is Anubis, you see here. But the list of brawlers also includes Gilgamesh, Leonidas, Oda Nobunaga, and Dracula, and the Green Knight. Currently, of all the champs that we know and know their stats, there are none wisdom or blue affinity champs that are brawlers, okay, that we know of. None. So I think it's safe to say we could probably expect some cunning or green affinity bosses, because we won't have brawlers who can hit hardest or have hard hits or most impactful hits against that affinity. The only 2 champions that we know excuse me, that are brawlers and are cunning and that green affinity are Anubis and Dracula, the 2 we showed you here. The rest are strength and that purple or void affinity. We're not exactly sure what it's being called. So basically the one that is not affected by any affinity, the neutral. So that is your brawler class, okay? Now moving on, we are going to go to Aphrodite and our Invoker class. This symbol right here is an Invoker. We just saw this definition the other day, but it means that this type of champion will heal the teammates and their team and place needed buffs on them. These are our bad A buffers, okay? We only know 7 champs in the game who are Invokers, like that we know their stats. But the list includes Aphrodite, as you see here, Isis, Quetzalcoatl, Smash over there, and also down here, not in this one, I apologize, it is in Avalon, is Sold. So Sold is also an Invoker, fast speed, but like we said, so she's getting out in front to place heals and buffs, but at the same time, the rest of her stats are lacking. So you're going to have to build her up a little HP in order to keep her alive long enough to put the buffs on her team. But it'll be really interesting to see which buffs she brings. Okay, that is the Invoker, and now we are going to switch to Beowulf and our Slayer. This is the Slayer symbol here. Beowulf is one of the Slayers. Now, we saw this class during the release of the 3 starter champs, because all 3 starter champs are Slayer class, and we were shown that it is a pure damage dealer who brings much less defense, but can probably hit the hardest. Besides the starter champs, some notable Slayers include Beowulf, you see here, Hel, also from the same faction. So Hel is also a Slayer. Ra, Shinigami, Tutankhamun, and the last one we're going to point out here is Zeus. So, and then also you have Babby and Bastet from the Aru faction are also Slayers. There are only 2 Slayers that we know that are void or this purple affinity. That is Zeus and Beowulf. So we've called those out so you can see that those are the only two that we know of at this time. So that is the Slayer. Next, we are going to move to Freya and the Disruptor. This hand with the finger reaching out here, this is the symbol for the Disruptor class. We've not seen the official definition of this one yet, but it would appear, and we're speculating, that this type of champion would be a debuffer or a disabler. They have higher speed and accuracy and initiative. They get out in front. They prep the enemy for the next champs in line. Some champs that are in this class are Freya, one of my favorite, probably my favorite champ in the game that I'd want to get. Loki and Pandora, those are all over 100 speed. And then Dagonet, Izanami, Odin, and Ra are all close behind. In addition, these are some folks with high initiative as well. Odin is the highest initiative, and then Loki, Set, and Tengu. Now, there are no champs that we know of right now that are disruptors and strength affinity, that red affinity. Good to note that, okay? Absolutely no disruptors that we know of are strength affinity. Okay. Moving to the last one, we are going to talk about the Defender class, the shield here. This is fairly straightforward. I think it's safe to say that even though we haven't seen this class exactly, it is focused on reducing incoming damage for your team. Broomhild is one of the most notable defenders, but what we're going to see here is the two strongest defenders in the game that we know of are King Arthur and Heimdall, both tied for the highest base defense of 153, but Heimdall also has the highest resistance in the game. So he has got tied for the highest defense and the highest resistance in the game. So several factions in this, and we'll talk about this in a second when we show you all the champions that we'd recommend for each class. Several factions do not even have a single defender yet, so that we know of. So we're going to be waiting for that information as we get into the Alpha Cavern testing phase in July. So now we know about each class, or at least what we're speculating, and now we're going to build a 5-champ team using one from each class. In your OG's Speed Tune single class Godforge team, we would start with the fastest champ being the Invokers. Okay? And why? Why would we do that? Well, we want the Invokers to get that speed buff or turn meter boost or whatever, or multiple buffs, maybe an increased attack. We want to get that out on our team because it may give us additional boosts in terms of speed or turn meter to stay ahead of the enemy wave. So we want the Invokers to go first. And what you see here is a snip of the Invokers, who we know their stats and how they compare, what affinities they are, what alignments, what factions they're with, and you can see the conditional formatting. So if the box is a light red, that means it is below average compared to all the other stats in the game, and if it is green, it means it's above average compared to all the other stats in the game. So you can see the 2, 4, 6, 7 Invokers that we know of course Aphrodite and Isis being over 100 speed there. You can see that. So this is going to need to be one of our fastest champions, in my opinion. Now, perhaps a Disruptor can go before an Invoker. I think you can get away with it. But for this exercise, I'm going to put the Invoker first and then go second with the Disruptor. So the next one in our team will be the Disruptor. This is going to be the individual who, after receiving said buffs, moves to place debuffs and disables on the enemy team, whether they be stuns or fears or lockouts or buff strips or whatever it is that keeps the enemy team from being able to attack or being able to attack with any real significance, not being able to mask their fires and their damage dealing. Okay? Whatever we need to do to disrupt their momentum. So these are the Disruptors. You can see there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 of the Disruptors that we know of. You can see there are no strength Disruptors that we know of. No strength affinity. So that's interesting. We can see they're all pretty much above average in accuracy and above average in speed and initiative. So that makes sense. Okay, Freya has monster HP and Loki. You can see why those two already are just going to be such great champs. They're above average in almost everything. Okay, so after the disruptor places those debuffs and disables, we then want our defender to throw up those shields or that block damage mechanism and ensure any counterattacks or follow-on enemy turns will not see our team's momentum interrupted or our champ's HP depleted. The skill to look for with your defender is counterattack or retaliate, as we have seen it called, and King Arthur is one that has that. So that will help us to cycle our team through their skills faster, as well as really just wearing down waves even quicker, because our damage dealers that we'll talk about next are going to get more and more attempts to build their ultimates. Okay, so after the defender has put up the shields and you are safe, now brawlers and slayers, what we're going to say, I'm going with brawler first, then slayer, but they're fairly interchangeable here, of course. So we went with brawler, so we're assuming they're HP damage dealers, and we're looking for one here with an ally attack if possible. We want to pull the slayer and the other team members into this attack and help cycle back through their skills quicker. Between that and the counterattack mechanism from the defender, we will cycle through skills very quickly. This will also target and remove the fastest enemy who might interfere with the team's synergy. So we want this brawler to be looking to focus on either an ally attack or something that knocks out the most dangerous enemy who's about to go next, or will do the most damage or the most interference if they do. So that is the brawler. And then after the brawler, the last but not least, we will have our slayer. So here we have our slayer with the slowest speed, highest attack, highest crit damage, and trying to take advantage of every multiplier that we can. This gives us 2, maybe even 3 forms of damage in case we encounter challenges where direct attack or direct damage is just not working well. As with what we saw from our starter champs, our slayers would have likely a debuff too that allows them point damage over time as well as direct damage. So a lot of times we can get a dual multiplier there. Then we can have possibly a dual multiplier as well with our brawler, and with just continuing to churn through that enemy. Okay. Also, we will be creating synergies around specific buffs, debuffs, and disables, which we'll cover in a future video when we obviously know more about those things. Alright guys, well, that's it for this video. I hope you liked it and found it helpful. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of these great tips and tricks. Take care of yourself, and remember, play smarter.